What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how you can avoid knee injuries when you are making a cut. So I hope this video helps you guys out. I hope we could teach you a few new things about cutting and being safe with your cuts. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you want to know the exact things you should do on a day-to-day basis in the gym and on the field to improve your skills, check out that very first link in the description below for our ultimate 8-week wide receiver workout plan. What you'll get access to is over 500 plus wide receiver gym exercises and on-field drills mapped out into a daily schedule for 2 months. So check out that very first link below. We give examples of every single exercise. Let's get started with this video. So this first thing we're going to talk about here, we're going to be talking a lot about shin angles, and I would say like your knee angle, if you will. So we're looking at this first cut here from Elijah Moore. So when he cuts, the main thing about being safe with your cuts is that you got to make sure that your cut is number one, inside of your frame, but number two, that your knee does not cave inward. Or it's tough to not have your knee cave inward a little bit when you are making a cut, but you want to make sure that your ankle doesn't almost face towards the grass. And we're going to talk about that. So when you guys make a cut and you guys are running full speed, it can get we talk a lot about, hey, when you're running a route, you got to run full speed and then you got to be able to cut on a dime. You have to be able to put your foot in the ground and plant. You have to maybe, snap down. That's when you drop your hips and you try to make a break. And the critique that we get from a lot of people is that, oh, well, you're going to screw up your ACL, your MCL like that. And yes, that is probably true if you do it incorrectly, fellas. Don't just go out there and run routes full speed and try to cut on a dime with bad form. That's why it's so important when you're working in the offseason. You have to do things that will strengthen your ankles, strengthen your knees, your legs. And we're going to talk about that in this video that can help you with this. So you need to make sure that you have the correct form. So by form, what do I mean? I mean foot strike, I mean foot placement, and I mean, like I said, not having your knee cave inward. So when you guys are cutting, a lot of people try to over-exaggerate this movement. When they throw this cut, they will reach. Instead of cutting inside of their frame, as I like to say, which is pretty much just me saying underneath or slightly, very slightly outside of your shoulders, guys will try to over-exaggerate and reach out a couple yards. They think that that helps them sell the cut a little bit more. That doesn't do anything but, one, raise your pad level up. So if you're running a route and you reach, that's just going to be an indicator, as we call it. You're letting the DB know a break is coming. And when you reach outside your frame, that puts pressure on your knee. And we're going to show an example of that here in a second. So when you guys make this cut, it has to be just like what Elijah Moore does right here. He's sudden, he strikes the ground, and he shoots that foot in the grass. Now, one of the other keys there, a lot of people make the mistake, is that they will not strike the ground on the middle arch of their foot. So everybody's probably been taught, when you run, you want to try to stay on the balls of your feet. Some people think it's the toes. It's not actually the toes. It's more so like the ball of your foot. But when you cut, you do not want to be on your tippy toes. You do not want to be on your heels, number one. You want to be on the middle arch of the foot because that allows you to get to that balanced position where you don't have your knee caving inward or your ankle facing downward. And that's what we're going to talk about in a second, like I said. But mainly, you do not want to strike on the heel. Because if you reach outside of your frame, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to strike on your heel probably. But when you strike on your heel, all that energy in your leg shoots up. And when all that energy in your leg shoots up, that can make you more susceptible to injuring your knee. So let's look at this second cut here from Elijah Moore. This is a cut where he ends up cutting on his heel. And I want you to see the sketchy angle that we have here. You see how the heel hits the grass first. But look at what that does to his leg. It kind of extends, right? That's a ton of pressure on his ankle, on his Achilles, and on his knee. If he would have stepped maybe a little bit further and would have gone heel-toe like he did, that could have put a lot of pressure on that knee. Luckily, that cut is inside of his frame, but we cannot be heel-toe because we cannot have my leg extended and my foot flat. That puts a ton of pressure on places I don't want to have any pressure. So make sure, fellas, it's not like the second cut right here. It is more so like that first cut. It is inside that frame. We're on the arch. And we're making sure that my ankle isn't facing the grass. Let's play this thing again, full speed, one more time. That's, again, not bad on the second cut. We just cannot go heel-toe and reach outside of my frame. All right, so we're going to be looking at this release here from this wide receiver because wide receivers can not only hurt themselves when it comes to, a move at the top of the break or cutting with the ball or anybody really, any athlete can't hurt themselves. Sometimes it's with just subtle movements maybe off the line. So this wide receiver ends up slipping, and that is a way that can be prevented from you bringing your upper half with the cut. I'm going to talk about that, but also it can hurt yourself. So when he makes this release, see how he slips off the line, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about his cut at the top of the break as well. Reason why he slips is because that foot gets outside of his frame. Now, the reason why that foot gets outside the frame, because I don't think anybody's trying to slip on a release, is because sometimes he tries to get out of it with his body a little too quick. So like how many of you get, I'm sure all of you have probably slipped before, you know, whether it's a release, whether it's a cut at the top of the break, you slip. And it's usually from guys trying to cheat the movement. Not necessarily like cheat the movement, but trying to get out of the movement too quick with their upper half. So like if I'm making a release, right? Let's say I'm trying to work this DB off the platform, I get him to jump. I'm obviously trying to drive off of this leg, step with my left one, and get up into the route with as little wasted motion as possible. Now, a lot of guys don't understand that they need to drive off of this foot. So what they'll do is they'll make a move, they'll cut, but they try to turn out of it with their body. They try to leave the release with their body before their feet actually drive them out. Now, look at the angle of his leg right here. You see how it's extended? You see how his knee is caving inward? His ankle is facing inward? All the stuff we talked about in the very first example. Because he is leaving without his feet, essentially. His upper body's getting him out of the route, not his feet. When you guys throw a cut, it's your feet, fellas. If you guys are thinking about pushing off of this and not thinking about opening up with your chest, and again, this is not something you could think about in a live rep or a game situation. This is something you think about when you're in practice and you're repping it out, so it becomes a habit. But when you make this cut, you got to make sure that you're pushing off of that, because you will not be able to push off of the foot if you don't have weight on it and if it's not inside your frame. But the second you try to leave, that foot gets outside your frame, it extends like so, and that can cause that slip. Okay, fellas? So I hope that makes sense. Now, let's look at his cut at the top of the route right here. Where does he strike the ground? He strikes the ground pretty much on the middle arch of his foot, I'd say. But you see how his knee is kind of caving inward, his ankle is facing inward a little bit. Now, that is where leg strength comes into play. So many wide receivers ask us, you know, like, hey, what should I be doing in the gym? What can I do in the off season, right? What can I do during the season? And a lot of guys, a lot of receivers hate the gym. They don't live in the gym. They can't. A lot of people do. I mean, but a lot of them don't like it. They just want to be, I want to run routes, coach. That's what I want to do. So guys will neglect that. And when you see receivers who have, you know, kind of skinnier legs on the skinnier side of things, it's very tough to make these types of cuts safe, because you won't be able to absorb that force. You won't have the leg strength to be able to keep that positive shin angle where your ankle isn't facing the inside. Now, I'm all for one. Like, I'm a big believer in when you cut, you want to push off the inside arch of your foot. But when you make the cut and your leg is shifted in, all it takes is for you to reach a little bit too far on your cut, and that knee's going to snap. So you have to make sure that we develop that leg strength. So doing exercises like squats will help. But when you're doing a squat, you shouldn't let your knees cave inward. You should be almost like thinking, I'm pressing my knees, I'm pressing my legs outward to work on that specific, like, strong position, if you will. Let's play this thing again full speed, and then we're going to look at one more cut here from CeeDee Lamb and talk about the difference in the two athletes' leg strength when they're both making the exact same cut. So CeeDee Lamb's running on a post right here. Now, let's talk about it. When he makes this cut, you could see like kind of a noticeable difference in the size of legs that he has, and maybe more so like I'd say in the calf in the last example. But when he makes this cut, to be able to cut inside of your frame like this and not reach way outside your frame, honestly, fellas, you have to make sure that you have strong legs. At the end of the day, that's what so a lot of one-legged exercises, and one-legged exercises with good form can build strength in this position, because even CeeDee Lamb has a little bit of a cave of that knee. So if he steps a little bit too far, strikes the ground just a little bit wrong, that you can hurt yourself with that knee. So fellas, if I can get one thing across to you, is like when you guys are training, when you guys are doing drill work, you need to be conscious of these things. You want to be able to cut. You don't need to open up your toe when you cut. You want to be able to cut just like this, but I can't let my knee cave inward, because all it takes is one wrong step. So stuff you can do in the gym. You know, maybe do one-legged squats, right? You hold a weighted plate in your chest, you squat on one leg, you don't let the knee cave inward. You focus on sitting at your hips and building that leg strength. Another thing you could do is maybe you take like a band, you wrap it around your knees and you do squats, but you push the band out with your legs. Stuff that is going to build that strength in that position you need at the top of the route. That is the main thing. That is what you need to be able to avoid that knee injury. It comes down to mechanics, but you also have to be doing the right type of exercises in the gym and on the field to avoid that injury. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. This goes for anybody that is in any sport, really, that is making a cut. Make sure that we don't let that knee cave inward, because one wrong step, or the wrong form, your body leaving the cut too early is what's going to cause that injury. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. I always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like a full 2-month-long wide receiver gym and on-field workout schedule, check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.